Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending the 2022 State of the Union address delivered by yours truly. Mr. Senate President, members of the Dracul National Parliament, our citizens, our friends, those of mutual recognition, and those in the micronational community, thank you very much for your attendance this evening. Dracul is the land of opportunity for those in the micronational community. The reasons being for that, of course, is not just our unique culture and the many wonderful activities that we provide those who come here, but the freedom that we provide many individuals who come here on a monthly basis. We are pleased that the individuals in our community, mainly our citizens and government officials, are of high caliber and quality, and we certainly thank everyone for their dedication to the Commonwealth and continuing our plans and operations as the years go on. I'd like to start off with our Treasury Report for 2021, the entire year. The Treasury Report states that the Commonwealth of Dracul had an income of $730.33. It is certainly a lot less than expected compared to the year previously. I think a big cause for that decrease was not just COVID and individuals being out of work and being less willing to, of course, spend money on wants, of course, compared to the needs that they had throughout that year. But also some technical difficulties we had through the year of our online store, which I do expect will be fixed in the beginning of this year, hopefully by March, where we can have our products, especially our banknotes and other things along those lines of those mementos, back online. To discuss 2021, it was a very interesting year to say the least. 2021 had with it a lot of new individuals who came into our government to assist us, a lot of individuals who are no longer with us, of course, who contributed greatly. And even though they're no longer a part of our government, we certainly would like to extend the thanks to them, and of course for their patriotism and their dedication to making things better to where they are today. So we certainly want to shine light on that. Certainly last year we had the brand action where there was the failed government twice for Brand District, which unfortunately had to include the military to step in to take control of that failed government. And I think that's one thing that that this nation needs to realize, especially those who have new ideas and new proposals. I'm certainly down with the idea of accepting new territories, protectorates, and things of that nature. However, I think we need to understand that there are times where growth is not sustainable and is not necessary, such as forming new states with governors and forming new local governing bodies such as cities or counties, for instance. And I think that when we grow larger throughout time and more become active within the community, then that's something that will certainly will be on the table and will be sustainable. And I think that, like I said, that's something that we need to realize. And I've mentioned this before several times, that you should not grow beyond your means and your capabilities. And that right there is something that, you know, we acknowledge that that was a lesson learned And sometimes you have to learn the hard way that some things just aren't sustainable, and that's something that we certainly acknowledge and have learned from. And it also helps, us learn for the future how we should go about doing things. And I think as long as you learn from those mistakes, then you're good. And that will help you, of course, in the future. We had, of course, our annual Treason season, as we did every year, where there's always an individual who comes in from another micronation attempting to change things completely against the Constitution, and to just completely change the culture and the way of life and the way that things are done here in Dracul. With that being said, I think it needs to be clearly understood by those in the micronational community, especially those who come into Dracul wanting to make change. If you come to Dracul and you want to make change, you want to make prosperous changes, and you want to help us grow our community, that is something that is completely welcomed. We will always welcome positive changes here, especially if you're willing to help us out. But one thing that Dracul, and I am making very clearly now as president, if you come to Dracul with the intention of changing us, overthrowing us, altering our Constitution or our policies, you will be ousted. You will be removed from this community. And I think that me stating that publicly now during the State of the Union address will make that very clear and hopefully avoid that from happening in the future. We've worked very hard since 2017 to get where we are today. And the childish immaturity of individuals coming into this nation, trying to change things to what they are not meant to be, going against our policies, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and the progress that we've made so far is not going to be tolerated. And we will make an example of you. And I will make that clear right now, just so you know. And not only that, but I understand that people have a different view. People come from different micronations that have different government structures, different ways of going about doing things. But when you come to another micronation, you are to adapt to that micronation's way of doing things. And coming into a micronation, and it doesn't just mean Dracul, any micronation, even those that if we don't have relations with, coming into another micronation, wanting to change things the way you're used to them in your micronation, or the one that you recently came from, wanting to change things that way into the new micronation you come into, is just not the way you go about doing things. So for January and February, moving on to positive news, and also, of course, coming up after that, future plans. January and February have been a very interesting start of the year, to say the least. We've had a couple of issues we've needed to deal with, which I believe have been successfully dealt with, and it has been positive in our image. It's been very positive in our image. We've gained a lot of support over the past couple of months, January and of course beginning of February. Lots of support, lots of messages I've received from other micronations and other micronationalists in support of us during our conflicts and issues we've had with other individuals and other micronations. We've gained a lot more supporters on social media, especially on our Twitter and our Instagram, a lot more. I recently gave an interview on an incident which is no longer an issue at this time. It was definitely in our favor at the end. And definitely looking forward to the future plans of Dracul. Activity is definitely a big one that needs to be focused on. Citizenship activity. We're trying to devise new ways of going about doing things to involve the community, especially those abroad, more to have them more included in our great community as well. Because at the end of the day, while individuals might want us to, to focus mainly on the physical contributions and the physical activities in the nation, lots of people from around the world do come to Dracul. They do want to help us out. For instance, our State Secretary, Valeriano Anibarra, which has done tremendous work, might I add, the past couple of years as a State Secretary, all the way from Switzerland. Very dedicated individual, very patriotic, goes out of their way on a weekly basis to make sure that the job is done in the State Department. And, of course, that's to be commendable. We certainly want to be able to continue to include all of those around the world who receive Dracul citizenship, on a weekly basis, and those who want to contribute greatly from around the world certainly are encouraged to do so. So we want to make the opportunity for them to do that bigger and better, of course. That is definitely one of the biggest things. Military recruitment. We have a great professional structured military that I'm very, very pleased we have been able to develop over the past couple of years. It's gotten a lot better than it has been before in the past, but I certainly want to thank all of those, especially our field marshal and the officers in our military, and of course our most recently created Sergeant Major of the Army. I'd like to thank all of those who have contributed greatly to our military, and especially for those who are in our military who come to our in-person events and assist with our color guard. I think that a professional physical image of Dracul really speaks volumes and is something that we certainly need to focus on. And with that in mind, that also brings up the topic of new military uniform changes, which of course we feel is going to be a big positive change for us as well. And that of course is in the making and will be discussed as those plans near fruition, come through fruition. Citizenship recruiting. I think that it's important that as a member of the community, we discuss with others around the macro world the importance of who Dracul is, what we do, what we stand for, what our campaigns are, what we advocate for. It's very important that citizens, especially government officials, but citizens explain that to their friends, family, co-workers, other people in passing. And while it might be difficult for some people to explain micronationalism and the concept of it, I think that with practice and with a continuance of telling other individuals about it, that it will certainly assist them with explaining it better and better in the future when they talk about it with other individuals. And it is the duty of those in our community to go out of their way to promote this community, because if we stand here and keep to ourselves and not let the rest of the world know about who we are, what we stand for, and that we're here, it will make things a lot more difficult for this community to continue to grow. Because a lot of individuals are not aware of what micronationalism is. So with that being the case, many of them are not going to find us so easily. So we have to go out of our way to let people know that the micronational community is here, that Dracul is here, and of course, as I said, what we stand for, and of course, our welcoming of new people into our communities. I have announced as of towards the end of last month that I will be launching a campaign to help the homelessness here in Houston. This is going to be my target area. I'm welcoming all micronations, those we have relations with, and of course even those who we don't have relations with, to come on board and help out with this effort. A lot of micronations like to say that they want to make changes in the world, but not much is actually done by them to make those changes. If you're a micronation and you want to make changes in the community around you and in the world, something like working towards assisting those who are homeless and are in need is a great way to go about doing that. Not only is it a great way to go about getting recognition and to advertising who you are, getting you more citizens who want to get involved with that campaign, but it's of course the righteous thing to do for society is helping those out who really need it. And at the end of the day, the main reason for me, of course, starting something like this is because I'm tired of walking through the streets of Houston, and at every single light corner, there's somebody in need. These people need our help. We are more fortunate than them, and I feel that with that being the case, we should go out of our way to help those in need. And you don't have to necessarily pull $10 out of your pocket and hand it to every unfortunate individual at every street corner, but there are many different ways to go about helping them out, and I think that that's something of righteousness that we all should aim towards accomplishing, is helping those in need. And I'll have more details as that campaign comes to fruition, and we'll go from there. So if you are interested in helping out with the homelessness campaign, let me know and contact my office for more details on how you can get involved, including in your area, not just Houston. Of course, we're a bit far away from July. This was something that needed to be done probably all the way back to 2019, 2020. The ball was dropped on it, in other words. William Mccumber, North Dracul's first constable, who of course was a real police officer at the time of his life, of course, who unfortunately passed in 2019 due to health complications. William was a very respected, admirable, and kind individual in our community, friends to many of us, those who are no longer with us, and of course those who are still with us. And because of his contributions and his dedication to Dracul, we are making his birthday, I believe it is July 2nd of every year, William Mccumber Day, a day of remembrance of a great individual who was a part of our community and came here voluntarily, just like the rest of us, to partake in our community. So that is a new holiday which I felt was long overdue, that needed to be done, and I'm very pleased that I was able to get that done, as that is Executive Order 10 that I just recently created yesterday. I think a big section of the micronational community has great views on our solar system. And there are many micronations out there that to some degree or another want to be able to contribute to the research of our solar system and of course our galaxy, home right here. So Vice President Modena came up with the idea of DARA, the Jokul Astronomical Research Association. And this is going to be a program that is currently in the making, which will consist of other micronations especially who are friends of Dracul, who have, high quality cameras, telescopes, access to, many websites with information about our solar system, photos they've taken, photos they've acquired, those who pay close attention to, different NASA missions and things of that sort. That's a program that we feel is really going to be great that Dracul has devised, that we want others to be a part of. Of course, there are other space programs in the micronational community, some more serious than others, but I feel that this is a great addition that we're certainly going to take part in. And speaking of contributions to the micronational community and making progress in bringing others together, I'd like to officially announce this evening the NACO Charter, which is the North American Charter Organization. And NACO, as we are currently devising that right now, is going to be not a YAMO, as many would call it, but it is going to be an association where we bring individuals together, and this is not going to be some type of legislative body where, one micronation is over other micronations and tells the others what to do. This is a organization, a mission to bring many micronations together to talk about what we can do to shine a better light, a better image on micronationalism. How can we resolve micronational conflict between other micronations? How can we talk about improving internal problems, micronations who are struggling, and of course, as I mentioned with conflict, when one micronation has an issue with another micronation, how can we peacefully bring the two together to put their differences aside? Because as of right now, you have a lot of organizations that are UN style. You have the GUM and you have the Cupertino Alliance that are UN type organizations, but you really don't have any associations out there that are willing to say, if you have a problem, come to us, join us, let's figure out, you say you're struggling with this, that your government is not very well structured, let us help you out in putting the pieces together. Micronation A and Micronation B are yelling at one another and having serious issues with one another and are not getting along, and it's causing a lot of drama. How can we bring the two together, have a mediator to say, look, this is how you feel, this is how you feel, you two really need to put your differences aside. What do y'all both agree on that y'all can focus on the most? How can we resolve this conflict so we don't have any more of this drama, so you two can come together? And even if you're not going to be friends, at least you'll be able to tolerate one another. I think an organization like that is certainly of great need, especially if one of the member states of NACO is having issues, then the rest of NACO can come together to say, let's see how we can fix this problem. It'll be very similar to a degree of NATO in a way, of course, without military action. Because, of course, we're not going to go around shooting people just because we disagree with them or we have issues with them. That's just not something, of course, micronationalism does. Of course, unless you have an airsoft gun. But again, NACO is not really aimed towards any type of military or war action. It's more of conflict resolution and how we can fix things in the micronational community. And that will be something, of course, that we will be mentioning as that organization and that charter are completed. And it's taken a little while, even though we've made some small mentions about it before in the past. It's taking a while because we want to make sure that it is going to work. I think the problem when it comes to micronational organizations is that people rush into them. They think of it, they think it's a great idea, they rush into it, they don't have it fully established, and next thing you know it is broken because it wasn't properly executed. So that's something we want to avoid, so we make sure that it goes into effect the right way. Speaking of problems in the micronational community, my Vice President Modena and I have discussed weekly podcasts, something that we as individuals, not so much as Dracul, but us as individuals want to do. We want to be able to provide help to micronations around the community. You know, what can we do to help them out? You know, in terms of internal problems, you know, help. I'm not having a lot of citizens. You know, my government is falling apart. It's not very well structured. I'm having trouble explaining things in my Constitution. Do I need a Bill of Rights? You know, things along those lines. Think of it like home improvement, like the old TV show with Tim Allen, but micro improvement. That's actually going to be the name of the TV show, is Micro Improvement, or I should say the podcast, with my Vice President Modena as my co-host, and with Mr. Cooper as our executive producer of the show. And so I'll have some more information on that. That one actually is going to be created and take place fairly sooner than the other things that are currently in development. I'd like to take this opportunity to give some honorable mentions. I think that it's important that we talk about those who have greatly contributed to our community. As many of you probably already know, I recently established or I should say issued the citation of the Gold Dragon to Field Marshal Scott Jeans of the Commonwealth of Dracul Defense Department. Individuals such as him who have gone out of their way to establish things such as a military code of justice, uniforms and uniform regulations, different policies for the military to make things a lot more structured than they once were, are to be commended. And I would like to give a great deal of gratitude, as well as the rest of this community, to individuals like Field Marshal Jeans for going above and beyond, especially helping us out during our conflicts and standing strong, helping keep the military together, of course, as well. I'd also like to officially and publicly welcome New Czechoslovakia, Stratton, and Carnia Ruthenia as our new mutually recognized partners. I'd like to welcome you to the Commonwealth of Dracul, to official relations, and I certainly hope you are pleased with what we can provide to you, and of course vice versa. Dracul is, and always will be for me, the greatest micronation that there is. And while there have been many before us, and there will be many after us, of course, whenever things start winding down, hopefully not for another 20, 30, or 40 years, however long it may be, no one knows. We really have an interesting thing going for us. We have many individuals who have this great passion of giving friendship and camaraderie to others that are here. It's a unique feeling that you don't get within other micronations. But it's a positive feeling, of course. The dedication the responsibility, the respect. It's not something you see many others truly reflect on in their micronations. You don't really see many people talking about it. Citizens, government officials, things of that sort. And while I have no doubt there's plenty of patriotism in other micronations, of course, it's just a unique way of how it's done here in Dracul. I mean, the fact that a micronation was born in honor of a hero, of a macro country, of Wallachia, Romania, of course, today, I think is just truly amazing. You know, a lot of micronations, when they develop, they take cultures from other countries and they try to create their micronation based off of that. You know, they'll go to Germany and say, okay, we're going to be a German micronation, but we didn't go to Romania and say we're going to be a Romanian micronation. We said we're going to honor Romania by showing respect and continuing the history and further mentioning that history of Romania's hero, someone who saved the day, who was able for so long to be able to maintain their sovereignty and the protection of those who lived there. And I think that's really what makes us unique. And I think it's something that we need to primarily focus on because of how unique it is. And the importance of it, of course, too. With that being said, I would like to thank everyone for attending our State of the Union address this evening. I certainly look forward to speaking with everyone, many other micronations, our new partners and formal recognized nations who are now with us, new potential citizens, and of course our supporters. Look forward to speaking with you throughout the year and to working with you as well. Thank you for your participation. Have a great rest of your evening, and God bless Dracul and the rest of the micronational community.